Hello and welcome to the Armada EW podcast. I'm delighted to be joined today by Norm Wade. Norm's the owner of the Lightning Press and the author and publisher of their Smart Book reference series. These books are published in both conventional and ebook forms. One of Norm's titles is Cyberspace Operations Electronic Warfare. We were delighted at Armada to receive a copy of this book, which I read and enjoyed over the weekend. Norm's joining us today all the way from Tampa, Florida. Norm, thanks very much for the book and welcome to the podcast.
Tom, thank you for having me as a guest today.
Let's start off with Cyberspace Operations Electronic Warfare. It's a cracking book, a very enjoyable read. And what gave you the idea for this?
Well, honestly, Tom, I've been wanting to do this title for a number of years, and it's only recently that I would tell you that U.S. military doctrine and materials have gotten to a mature enough point that I could pull together a comprehensive reference book. I think also, in particular with this topic, it's something that we're going toward over the next decade with multi-domain operations. So to have the knowledge of cyberspace operations and electronic warfare, not just at a planner's level, but across units and activities and soldiers actually conducting this in the field, I think it's important to get it out there.
From your point of view, what do you feel makes the book unique in terms of its focus and also importantly in terms of its format?
Yeah, well, I think, and I'm not trying to plug my other books, but the reality is now I have been doing this for 27 years. And so I feel like I have a different approach to reference material. And the reality is it is a purely reference book. I take no credit for the reference material in it. I mean, it is codified and has been researched and written and produced by the military. But what the military is not is they're not professional editors. They're not graphic designers. They're not publishers. So what I do is I take 10 to 15 to 20 different references, literally thousands of pages, and pull them down and make it into a comprehensive quick reference guide. And, you know, especially for professionals or people that are familiar with the topic, the reality is you've gone through schools and courses, you've worked this job for decades, you know the material, but there's just volumes and volumes of information. There's no way to have all that with you at your fingertips. Well, that's what I try to provide. And so really what we do is we make everything ABC 1, 2, 3, everything is quick referenced, and we have a very comprehensive table of contents and index. The point is, you know, you're looking for something, you want to be able to find it quickly. This lets you just jump right into the book at any point and go grab what you need. The other thing we do is we cite all of our references. So at any point, if you read a material or, you know, read an article in our smart book or you see an illustration, it's referenced to the actual publication that it came from. So if you need to go back out and get more information, you can.
Talk to us a little bit about your target audience. Who really are you finding are buying the book and reading it?
Yeah, so I guess I would tell you, I think I've seen this change over the years. You know, the reality, when I started this, at least in the U.S. military, you know, most of the folks that are responsible for the planning and the operations of a unit and, you know, the conduct of that kind of activity are the officers. And I would tell you probably it's been the junior, not so much the junior, the company grade officers and field grade officers. You know, perhaps by the time a guy becomes a lieutenant colonel or colonel, you know, they're running more of a strategic organization, you know, and their role is not as tactical or operational. So that's what I've tried to do with the books is make them operational and focused. So it's actually the guys in the field, in the command post that are doing the work that are using these as reference books. And so it's kind of targeted to that group. And of course, over the years now, so I've also seen, you know, senior NCOs. And of course, like in the U.S. military, we have like the battle staff NCO course. There's a whole new level of professional development courses and stuff focused at that more mid-grade non-commissioned officer. And it's how we structure our units and how we train and how we fight.
That brings me into my final question, really, which is how do you feel the electronic warfare community writ large, so not just in the forces, but the domain more generally, benefit from this publication?
So if I could talk about the structure of the book, you know, the way it works is, again, these are kind of compilations of larger volumes of reference material. And so it's organized by chapter. And so I think what it does is you might be specifically an electronic warfare specialist, or you may specifically be, maybe you work for the Department of Defense Information Networks and more about network security, you know, or you could actually be cyberspace operations. So I think what it does is it paints a more complete picture of the entire effort. warfare. And again, not trying to plug another book, but I mean, in U.S. military, and this is why the companion book to this is the information operations. And it's, if you talk about what you're doing with electronic warfare and what you're doing with cyberspace operations, and ultimately and I don't want to say control of information, but we're looking for the ability to get to information quicker, get it to our decision makers, and protect that information and or hamper the enemy's use of information. So again, I try to plug and play and show how it's relative to the larger picture. And so I think it paints that picture for the readers.
Norm, that's superb. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's been great hearing about the books.
Well, thank you again for having me on the show.
If this has whetted your appetite, head over to www.thelightningpress.com, where you can buy and download a copy of Cyberspace Operations Electronic Warfare and see some of Norm's other interesting titles there too. That's all we've got time for today, but don't forget there's more EW news and analysis at www.armadainternational.com/electronic-warfare. Thanks for listening.